Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you, and I would say see you in quotations. I'm excited to be with you today, and I candidly wish I could be with you in Forfa like we always do. That's one of the high points of the year for me, and it's unfortunate that I can't be with you like that now. I'm here in my office, and that's about as close as I can get to the Forfa. But I am excited to speak with you, and I'm also excited because in the short time I've been with you as your colleague, this will be the first time that I'll invite others to participate in the presentation part of this State of the College address. I want to say hello and thank you to several of my colleagues, particularly those who are serving our college in the Board of Trustees. And then you might recall that I have a little bit of a convention or a tradition that I'm going to continue here in a moment, and I'll just leave that as a tease for a moment. Let me say, I believe we have several of our leaders from the Board of Trustees here. I do see Trustee Lane there. Good morning. I see Trustee Roxanne McDonald. I know that Trustee Adel Mosip planned on attending. I know, and I heard her voice, Trustee Mary Petlishkoff, Vice Chairman Trustee Jim Thorpe is joining us today. And I neglected to note the title of Trustee Lane, the Secretary Lane, and Treasurer Roxanne McDonald. But the person I want to focus attention on is someone who, as I mentioned, has become somewhat of a tradition when we come together for States of the College addresses. And that is Trustee Dr. Michael Mead. Now, it's an important thing that you note he's here because this is unfortunately going to be the last time he'll be an office holder at our State of the College. You know that Trustee Mead was elected to our Board of Trustees in 2014, and he has elected not to seek re-election. And so this will be the last State of the College where he is an office holder of the Board of Trustees. And throughout my time as your colleague, I've taken a lot of pride in introducing Trustee Mead because one, he was for sure one trustee I knew would be at our States of the College addresses. And number two, he has been a good mentor and a good friend to me. But perhaps most importantly, and number three, the man's devotion to this college is simply unparalleled. And I just want to spend just a few moments telling you about him, and then I'm going to let him address you all because as a member of the Board of Trustees, as a leader of this institution, I think his insights about where we are as a college and where we're headed are always valuable to hear. You may not know it, but it was just a little while ago in 1966 that Trustee Mead began his career in higher education as a counselor and later as the Dean of Student Services at Montgomery College in Maryland. And then the great state of Michigan lured him to the Great Lakes State in 1982, and he became a member of the Henry Ford College family. He was the Vice President of Student Affairs when he arrived, and he spent 1 year as acting president. And I sometimes like to kid you, Dr. Mead, this job was only, you only wanted to do it for 1 year after you saw what it was like. Of course, I'm joking. I love my job, Trustee Mead, but I do appreciate your service as filling in this role. Then he retired from his position as an administrator in 2005, but stayed on as an adjunct counselor until 2015, just after his election. And so if you count from the time he came to Dearborn in 1982 until today, you're going to count 38 years of service to Henry Ford College. And if you count the time since Dr. Mead started his service to the community college movement, 1966, you're going to count 54 years of devotion to higher education and community colleges, and frankly, the students that we touch and serve. So it is my great pleasure to reintroduce you once again to my friend and my colleague, Trustee Dr. Mead, to make some introductory remarks. Dr. Mead?
Hi, thank you very much. And thank you, President Kavalhuna, Esquire, for this introduction. I want to thank Chair Hussein Berry for letting me have this swan song statement, get an opportunity to talk to all of you a little bit about the community college movement. And he normally would be giving this talk, but he allowed me to do this, so I appreciate that. Right off the bat, got to thank the team that work so diligently to bring all of our students, well, to open up the college for the fall. What a unusual circumstance. And normally we would be talking to each other face to face, and I would get some reactions from you that might tell me that I'm off course, or that maybe I actually said something funny, or so I won't get any of that feedback typically. And that's what every faculty member is going to be dealing with all through probably all through the next year, but let's hope it's shorter than that. Let me ask you a question. When did you all fall in love with the community college movement? Now, I ask that question because then I get to answer it. So I fell in love with the community college movement back in 1965. I actually started in 1966, but in 1965, I was a voc rehab counselor for the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C., and I would have to say I was not very good at my job. I was there for a year, and I got 2 people to work out of 475, and I got 11 in training. So I started looking for a different career. And I was starting reading about this community college movement. Here in this country, at that time in 65, they were opening community colleges on the average of 1 a week across the country. So this was a concept that was catching everybody, and people were getting really excited about it. So I decided I better take a look at this, and I was reading about it. And what hits you right away is that this community college, the vision and the mission for the community college was open door policy, a form of democratic post-secondary education where everybody gets an opportunity who wants one to go to college. At that time, the admissions policy was you're 18 years of age or older, you're admitted. So one of the things that attracted me to that was that they were anticipating then, if there was going to be an open door policy, that there would be a lot of FIDIACs. There'd be a lot of students coming to college who had nobody in the family who had had the experience of college, and probably not many people to counsel them with about their future. So I thought, well, here I am. I have a master's degree in guidance and counseling. Why don't I apply to that community college? Because they probably need counselors to help students with making career and educational choices, and to deal with personal problems that are blocking them from being successful. So I was thinking about that, and I looked a little bit more into it, and I recognized that people really wanted students to have an opportunity at a cost that they could afford. So part of the vision was that 1/3 of the cost would come from the local taxpayers, and 1/3 of the cost would come from the state taxpayers, and 1/3 would come from tuition. So back in 1966, they were starting at $20 a credit hour. So this gave everybody quite an opportunity. I also recognize that the community college is going to offer a liberal arts education as well as a technical education, which gave some people the choice to get knowledge and skills that would allow them to get immediately into the economy, and others would have an opportunity to transfer to the university if they wanted to go on for a bachelor's degree. So community colleges offered these associate degrees in technology as well as in liberal arts, and that was very attractive to me also. The other thing is that what I learned is that faculty were not required to publish or perish, that their major responsibility was to teach 5 courses a semester, probably to about 125 students, and that they would have office hours for personal tutoring if a student needed it. At first I thought, well, this is like the 13th and 14th grades, but no, it's not. Because when faculty are hired at a community college, they have the responsibility to develop curriculum, to develop the courses that make up the curriculum, and to develop the content of those courses. So they have academic freedom. It's very much different from the P through 12 experience. So yeah, this is a real college experience. So students, once they finish with a community college, they are totally prepared to go on if they wish to. The other thing that struck me is that they called them the honeycomb colleges. And the reason why they called them the honeycomb colleges is because they were all small classrooms. So an instructional building is made up of classrooms that hold maybe 25, maximum 30. So there's a real opportunity for interaction and engagement between the faculty member and the students. And Lord knows that the students coming to the community colleges who have no background experience need all the support they can get. So with this information, I applied to Northern Virginia Community College and to Montgomery College. Now, I lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, so Montgomery College was closer. I applied, and within a week, I got an invitation to be interviewed at both Northern Virginia Community College and Montgomery College. Northern Virginia in the morning and Montgomery College in the afternoon. And the next day, I got a telephone call from both of them saying that they've accepted me for the position of counseling. I went for the orientation at Montgomery College. I chose Montgomery College because it was a county-based program. It was closer to my home. And when I arrived, I was shocked because I was one of 70 faculty members that were being oriented that day. This was this tells you the exponential growth of community colleges in that period. So as Mr. Kavalhuna, President Kavalhuna expressed, he told the rest of my story. So the rest of my story is not important now. I just want you to know that in our hearts, we know that the community college vision and mission suits us perfectly. And it is a great challenge, but it is necessary to serve so many different students. Now, there's one thing that I want to emphasize since I've had this opportunity, and that, yeah, this is a crazy year, but we still need to develop a strategic plan. The current strategic plan is going to expire soon. And this is going to be a very, very important process this year. Dr. Michael Nealon and Dr. Lori Gonko are leading this escapade. And I will appreciate all of the involvement of people across the college to make sure that our strategic plan fits with the vision and mission of the community college movement. We are chartered by the state of Michigan to be a community college. Yeah, we may do a few bachelor's degrees hither and yon, and that's good for our students. But primarily, we are created to serve the businesses and industries and the citizens of the area of our community. So this strategic plan is critical because it gives us a roadmap for the future. It's critical for all of us because then we are guided properly. And it's really important for the president because his job is to implement the strategic plan. Now, he may have a few other problems that come along like COVID that weren't anticipated in a strategic plan, and that's where his leadership is needed. So I wanted to emphasize how important the strategic plan is and how important it is that all of you get your oars in the water relative to this, because this will tell us what we're going to be doing in the next couple of years and how we're going to serve our students. And finally, I know this is finally, I would like to say something about the role of the board in terms of hiring and evaluating the president of the college. Once we have a strategic plan, it is up to the president to implement it. And the board approves the strategic plan, and they use that as a tool to evaluate the president. So the president needs this, as well as the Higher Learning Commission needs it desperately, so that they can see that we are doing things together and that we have a really good plan to serve our students. And finally, I am very impressed with Mr. Kavalhuna, Esquire. I have longed for a president who is not autocratic, who is authoritative, not authoritarian, who understands that the buck stops with him, but the college will never work well if there isn't teamwork and a very healthy respect for the faculty and their role to generate the kinds of programs and services that allow our students to be successful and to become citizens that we are proud of. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I wish you all a wonderful year. It's a challenging year, but I know that you are up to the challenge. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Mead, I appreciate your comments, and I candidly appreciate your many decades of service to the community college movement. And I'll just say to you, it's unfortunate. You and I have not seen each other face to face for candidly longer. I really don't remember the last time we saw each other. But I want to say as intimately as I can through a computer, I appreciate what you've done for me. You've been a good friend and a good mentor to me. And you've helped me be a good teammate to my teammates here at the college. And I will miss the day I call you my boss, but I am glad, I hope I'll be able to call you my friend and mentor for many days beyond that. And the last thing I'll say to you is, if you care to look, Dr. Mead, if you click on the chat function of this Zoom meeting, I've simply lost count of the number of compliments you've received here and the praise you've received from your erstwhile colleagues about how much they care for you, how much they wish for your health and best wishes to your family, and what they see as probably your best gift to the college, which is your unending support and teamwork. So I encourage you to click on the chat function so you can see that. Now, what I'd like to move to, ladies and gentlemen, is to my attempt to show some of a PowerPoint presentation. And this is a new world for all of us. And candidly, I know most of you instructors are probably better at this than I am because you're living through this world now. But I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we'll work through some PowerPoint presentations so that you don't have to simply just look at me. And then I will be going through a couple opportunities to invite some other speakers to give you some perspectives. So let me change to share my screen here. The first thing I want to do is just a little housekeeping matters. I've already seen in the chat window that several of you have wondered what the thought process is for limiting video and audio in this meeting. And I'll be the first to admit we're learning as we go here. And I know some of you may prefer to have your video up and that we've limited that. And candidly, the reason we have is because at this point, I'm counting 395 participants in our meeting. And if we allow video, then we have to allow microphone. And if any of you all have been on a multi-person meeting where even just one person forgets to mute their device, it can be kind of difficult. That may not be the best way. And if you're frustrated by that, you have my apologies, and I'm happy to hear any feedback you have about that. But we have elected to allow you to use the chat function uninhibited. I see many of you have done that already, and I encourage you to keep doing that. And please do put your questions for me or comments in those. And my plan is to try to address as many of those as I can during our time here together this morning. The other thing I want to talk to you about is something I'm going to start calling First Fridays. And that's one of my attempts to limit any of you all who are frustrated by not being able to use your voice and use your face, even in this limited experience in Zoom. What I'm committed to do is at the first Friday of every single month, until further notice, is to have one of these meetings where any one of you are welcome to join. We'll unleash any of these restrictions on video or voice, and there's no agenda other than me sitting with you on Zoom, answering your questions, talking to you, hearing your feedback from what's going on. And that is as much of a help for me as I hope it will be for you. My goal there is to give you an opportunity to tell me how it's going out there. I so miss my opportunity to be able to do that in the real time, in the real world before the pandemic. And my commitment to you is to be there on the first Fridays. And I know that the next First Friday is actually a week from this week, and it's right at the beginning of a vacation holiday weekend, but I'm still going to be there. I'm still going to figure out the time, probably be in the morning on Friday, the first Friday of September. And for any of you all who want to address me, feel free. Of course, I've never shirked from what I've always offered you all, which is if you want to contact me and you want to email me, you can expect a response from me, and I'll maintain that commitment to you also. So one of the things at the State of the College that I enjoy doing is identifying what's happened with our staff. And this sometimes takes a little more time, but it's important to me because these are our teammates, and these are developments in their life and their relationship with the college. And so I want to go through them now. We've got some new hires to address, and I'll read their names and their position now. Eve Chowdhury is an IR business analyst. Julie Jackson is in the surgical technology department. Amy Pike is a chemistry instructor. Kimberly Herlongo is an accountant. Heather Sneed is an accounting analyst. Now, some of our colleagues have achieved tenure. Those are James Anderson in the trades department, Teresa Betts, a user librarian, Glenn Wisniewski as a trades instructor. We've had some retirements. And of course, I've noted on this slide that this is a limited window, and I apologize in advance if I've missed your name and you fit in one of these categories from January to August. Please let me know, and I will make up for that error by making it a public announcement. The retirements that we have so far are Terry Anderson from the facilities department, Kimberly Cramble, a logistic associate, David Cunningham was a director, James Elmer was in the energy tech instructor, Jackie Lawson, a business instructor who I hope will continue to, when we can come back to have the women's luncheons, will serve that important role she did there. Tom Layton from the facilities department, Dreama Pinkowski was a research analyst, Samuel Plaza was a history instructor, Greg Pudelik was a facilities engineer, Elaine Sineski was a business instructor, and someone who I relied on for advice, and candidly someone who could tell me how I was being perceived, both positively and negatively, and I encourage her to continue to do that. Tim Seguin was an accountant, Mark Seidelick, an electronics instructor, Carol Sloan, an instructor in HPE. And you know, it's frankly one of the worst parts of my job, but I do think it's important we pay homage to those who were our colleagues and who have passed away. I've made statements about several of these individuals, but I need to make their names known one more time. Monica Cazares was a health careers instructor. Michael Dare was an English instructor and an extraordinary teammate and leader in the honors program. Thomas Hudek was a chemistry instructor, and Bridget Pizzino was an English instructor, and of course the spouse of one of our faculty members. The next thing I like to do at these events is to give an opportunity to have our collective bargaining unit members have a couple items that are important to them and they're seeing and doing. Now, these are in no particular order, but it just starts with Local 71, who I congratulate the election of their new leader, President Joe Zitnick. I also want to note that most of these announcements on this docket with the collective bargaining units come from my relationships and my partnerships with the leaders of those collective bargaining units. And President Zitnick wanted me to take notice of the amazing work, and those were his words, but I completely agree, of Holly Diamond and the enrollment services team in the service to students. You're going to hear from Holly Diamond about that, and I just want you to know that I greatly appreciate her work and her leadership and her team. Closely behind that is Reuben Bruckley. You know, this man took the job of facilities director, and I feel a little badly for him. I doubt he expected to be handling a pandemic, but he's done that, and he's led a facilities staff that has been holding up the traditional job of maintaining our campus, but the included tasks of cleaning and sanitizing our campuses. We have the SSA, and as you know, they often, I think, in fact, every October, put on a trunk or treat event. Leslie Witness, I suspect, is the one who will be doing it this year again. She's fantastic at that, and she's a great teammate. They also ratified a one-year contract extension in the middle of a pandemic, and that was a lot of good work done by President Kim Kyer, her negotiating team, LaDonna Holly, and Lori Gonko. They began a new affiliation with the Technical, Professional, and Office Workers Association of Michigan, and I have to confess I don't know much about that group, but I do look forward to working with that group and with all my colleagues from the SSA. The SSA took part in a peaceful demonstration and or protest with the Dearborn Police. I know that several SSA employees took part in that, and frankly, administrative and faculty members took part in that. And I was happy to support it, although I was out of town and couldn't take part in the actual event. SSA members in the Campus Safety and Facility Department have been working throughout the pandemic. They are the frontline workers of Henry Ford College, and they candidly deserve our respect and appreciation. And the last line I have here is honoring our teammates affected by the pandemic. And I say that because the truth is I'm talking about those individuals who, through no fault of their own, and because they simply could not conduct their work at home and that their work wasn't here either, they were laid off. And I just want you to know, I've been reaching out to them. I care about them. We think about them, and we're doing our best to support them in this very, very difficult time. The AFO and their president, Lynn Boza, reports to me that with little notice, the AFO members became computer network technicians that helped HFC's ITS department and each other purchase their own equipment when needed and deliver online education that they hadn't really expected. And they conducted prepare to teach online training in a very short amount of time, and some of them even became the trainers. Examples of that are Ken Shepard and Cedric Knott. We also have amazing teamwork with the AFO and other groups. And that was something that President Boza wanted me to acknowledge, that was most apparent when over 50 adjuncts returned to campus in July to finish those courses that were paused as a result of the pandemic back in March. And of course, 5 members contributed to the Return to Campus Committee, including Edgar Johns, who served on the core team, which is a monumental success that I'll talk more about in the future of this presentation. Did I? No. 1650, AFT 1650, in my discussions with President McDonald, we want to congratulate them and note some of their accomplishments. One is that they played a pivotal role in moving over 88% of our courses from face-to-face in March to being delivered online. And candidly, I'm going to talk a lot about that. I think it's one of the greatest examples of our teamwork, that between AFO, 1650 administrators to serve students in a way that we really probably didn't think we could, but we did in a short amount of time. Of course, 1650 is generous with its resources. They contributed over $8,000 to various community charities, and they make significant advocacy efforts with state and federal policymakers. I also want to join President McDonald in thanking Pam Stewart and Jeff Morford for their time as chairs of the CTEI. I've presented to that, or actually met with that group, I believe on 2 occasions, and I continue to be impressed by both Pam and Jeff. They're leaders, they're smart, they're hardworking, and they're devoted to the mission of the college. There's no doubt about that, and their work on the CTEI shows that. Local 1650 also has leaders in higher education collective bargaining. Of course, John McDonald was a ranking delegate to the AFT convention, which on my understanding was a virtual convention. And he was a delegate to the AFT Progressive Caucus Steering Committee. He, of course, remains a vice president, a national vice president with the AFT, and expects to seek re-election. And I think he will be successful when that election happens in September. That's a very large collective bargaining unit across our country, representing over 1.7 million members. Our local vice president in the AFT, Eric Rader, was elected secretary of the AFT Progressive Caucus and elected to State Democratic Party Central Committee. He's a delegate to the AFT Virtual Convention, much like President McDonald. And of course, he co-chaired the HFC Return to Campus Subcommittee. Not to be outdone, Chardon Claiborne, the other vice president of the local, was a delegate to the AFT convention and a delegate to the AFT Progressive Caucus Steering Committee. And I think one thing that didn't get added here because of it's late breaking news, I want to congratulate John McDonald and his negotiating team, along with John Setkowski and the negotiating team from the administration, who worked hard together to deal with a collective bargaining negotiations that took a lot of time and took a lot of resources from both groups to try to come to a compromise. And just last Friday, the administration and the local 1650 leadership agreed to a 2-year extension to their contract during a pandemic. And again, I think that the vast majority of credit goes to John Setkowski and John McDonald for their efforts in looking out for the betterment of the college through representing their constituencies. Now, the next thing I'd like to address is the pandemic and how it has affected us as a college. And I could go on about this for longer than you'd probably like to hear me talk. So I'll be brief. But I think we need to take a step back and look at where we've come from. You know, this is the first time we've had a chance to come together as a state of the college since the pandemic started, and our college has changed in the past 6 months. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this and about some of the things that have changed and some that have not changed. On Thursday, March 12th, seems like a decade ago now, we announced major changes to the college operations due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We canceled classes for a week following spring break to allow us to pivot in ways that we had never done before. Our academic affairs team, our faculty, our support teams moved more than 1,700 classes, or 88% of our classes from that winter term, to an online format in a 2-week period. Instructors who had never taught online learned how to do that in record time. Faculty members pitched in to help each other. Teamwork was everyone's commitment. We were trying to do something that some people thought wasn't possible. And the only way to make it possible was through teamwork. It's a good thing that we chose to pivot when we did, because on Monday, March 23rd, Governor Whitmer issued her first stay-at-home, stay-safe order for the state. This essentially closed both of our campuses, but we were ready. In addition, we moved almost every aspect of our campus services to an online format at the same time. This included all of our enrollment service areas where we have advisors, counselors, admissions officers, financial aid employees, cashiers, orientation staff, registration, career services, student activities, and international service team members serving students personally and individually every day. All of these teammates had to learn new ways of using technology to provide the same great service that the students expect from us and that we continued to deliver in a pandemic. And they have done it during a time when we all have high anxiety, we have uncertainty to deal with, and we continue to work on our ever-pressing need to maintain enrollment, which of course, if it's the state of the college, I will be addressing in a few moments. Let's talk a little bit about what we've done with the operations that we've changed throughout the pandemic. You know, it's been strange times and we've had to change these operations, but our focus, indeed our mission, remains the same. If you've been with me for the state of the college for the last couple of years, you've seen I've continued to talk about several things that I continue to believe to be the North Stars of our important missions. The first is we need to assure that the college and the students here are continuing to thrive. And there really are two subparts of that: maintaining student success and maintaining budget health. We also have continually focused on a commitment from the leadership of this college to keep you, faculty and staff, and our students informed. We've worked really hard on that, and it's been really important to be able to do that during a pandemic. And of course, we continue to rely on and build a culture of teamwork. Frankly, there's no way we get through this pandemic and make the progress we already have without the great gains you have made on your culture of teamwork. So while our operations have changed a lot, what I would suggest to you is that our core focus areas remain the same, and they continue to be something that we should all be proud of, having accomplished a significant ground in each of those. So here are just a few examples of some of the operational changes that we made during the pandemic that I expect will both show you what's been happening at the college, but also what we can be proud of as how we've come through this pandemic. You know, we found new ways to help students and to provide for their emerging needs. We handed out almost 200 laptops to students who did not have the technology they needed to continue their coursework. Our financial service area has distributed $2.6 million in CARES funds to spring and summer students, providing for their needs. We have helped connect students to personal and social services that they were in deep need for. And our advancement team, led by Reginald Best, showed great flexibility and student focus in extending its normal scholarship deadline for 2 months. And as recently as last week, they helped students obtain scholarships to help them support their success. They've also been leading the way towards sending personalized gifts to every student who graduated this year, because of course, one of the sad realities is that they were stripped of the opportunity to celebrate in a formal graduation ceremony. We've had the ITS operations change to support hundreds of employees now working remotely, and our IT teams helped every person who asked for help in setting up technology so we could serve our students. Our facilities team has been sanitizing our campuses daily and putting up barriers and signage and enhancements to keep people safe when they do need to be on campus. This is in addition to their regular work of maintenance and cleaning and overall operations, and I've been there with them. I worked about half of a third shift with Keith Gaines, and I know that those employees continue to do great work. Our campus safety team has kept our campuses not only safe and secure, but friendly and welcoming to the employees and students who are on campus for their work and education. They have also led on-campus screening process, which has been very successful by almost any measure. You know, our marketing and communication team has contributed significantly to our progress this year by supporting the college and focusing primarily on enrollment and student services. The COVID-19 website that they created in one weekend, as soon as the pandemic began, was one example of this great achievement. Student resources and support were available on that website, and within the first week, 260,000 visitors came to that site. If you don't know it, you should. Rhonda DeLong is the backbone of that operation, and she's the workhorse that does much of that work. Now, she has a great team, but I want you to know that she is one of the best teammates putting out the amazing amount of communication that supports you and me. In fact, that presidential communication and college-wide communication that she and I and her team work on has continued in the pandemic. You've seen our messages that have been adjusted for holidays and crises. They've been adjusted by the pandemic, but they continue. I count 68 messages related to COVID-19 since the pandemic has hit over the last 5.5 months. That's our commitment as leaders, to continue to have you be involved and informed of what's happening. There's also a special advertising plan to fill the gap that we sensed and the Board of Trustees encouraged us to fill between spring and fall with advertising. I hope you see those messages out in front and that they make a difference for what we're trying to do with both success and enrollment for our students. The Human Resources Department just got a new leader. In fact, LaDonna Holly had barely been on the job when the pandemic struck, but they've done exceptional work to support employees and their families during the last 6 months. They've developed remote work policies and procedures. They provided guidance to employees and managers during the transition to remote work. They managed support for employees affected by COVID-19, including emergency leave bank, compliance with, and education about the Families First Corona Response Act. They provided scheduling options for working parents, and they've respectfully helped employees who were laid off or for those who were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. They organized what the Board of Trustees led us to do, which was to maintain medical insurance for our colleagues who had been laid off. And they enrolled HFC in a Michigan work-share program, which lessens the burden of layoffs at our college. And they've provided help with maintaining compliance with executive orders from the state of Michigan. They've helped us see through the process of our screening process, and they've made sure we're complying with CDC and OSHA guidelines. And I'll be candid with you. They've worked with the collective bargaining units very effectively. This has been hard. Everyone is concerned and scared. But our union leaders, our administrators, and particularly HR have helped us get through every problem we've faced. I'm so proud of all of them. Our finance team continues to track the dollars and cents in times of difficult budgeting. They've helped us anticipate where our budget would shift, and I'm proud of where we've come as a college, both with negotiations with collective bargaining and with our Board of Trustees helping us see ourselves through what are really unsure times financially. With all these changes and more, the pandemic has not changed us in the most important ways. It actually has made us stronger. Our work and commitment have demonstrated that our best strength is our teamwork. And we have proven that teamwork is not location dependent. All of you are my teammates, and I'm so proud of what you have accomplished. And I know that your accomplishments will continue. I really want to say thank you to all of you. I know I can't know and see all of your work, but I hope you can sense that I sense it. I'm appreciative for it, and I'm proud of the teamwork we're starting to show as a college. Here are some of the things I believe we've learned about ourselves during this time. These lessons are part of what will make us stronger in the coming years. First, while the operations might change, our mission has stood the test of time. And I'll just repeat them for you because I know you agree with me that we will continue to make this college a place where the college and students thrive by maintaining student success and budget health. We'll continue to work as leaders to promote information and education to you about what we're doing. In other words, the leaders of this college will continue to communicate openly with you, and we'll continue to foster a culture of teamwork. We've learned a lot about resilience and flexibility. We will be better in ways that we just don't know yet, but I'm exactly sure that we'll be better because we have overcome adversity and the challenges we've faced. You know, leadership and great ideas emerge from many places. When teams are functioning well, many of the ideas that you now see in place at our college came from you and from your colleagues in each department. Even as we are even farther apart physically, our teamwork has been strengthened, and we've all done this work without sacrificing excellence. Now, regarding a thriving college, each time at this year, I update you on some important metrics about our success, and those are enrollment and budget. So let me take a minute to address those issues. Enrollment. Due to the extraordinary efforts of so many of you in this strange and difficult year, we are approaching our enrollment goal for the fall. We're not there yet. Our goal is about 105,000 credit hours, which is 5.5% less than last fall's significant enrollment increase. And as of this morning, we're at 99,000 credit hours, which is just about 6% down from last fall. Now, there's a deregistration that's going to happen very soon, and that'll probably reduce this amount. I can't promise where it will, but I just need you to know that we're going to continue to work through the fall, registering students for the 15-week registration period, which is until September 2nd. And we'll also continue recruiting specifically for the 12-week semester that starts on September 17th. I know that you are all working on this, and it's been a college-wide effort. And aside from us, others in the community college world are struggling with enrollment. I've looked at those data. Of the 8 largest community colleges in the state who are reporting their numbers, and some don't, but of the 8 largest who do report their numbers, all of them are down at least 9% from last fall. Some are much worse. In fact, 2 of them are down 34% from last fall. But our laser focus on student success and our college-wide enrollment teamwork is something that sets us apart from other colleges. It's something I'm very proud of because it shows our teamwork. There's a lot of great work happening in enrollment services that I would love to tell you about. But Vice President Daniel Herbst and I thought it would be better if you heard it from someone who's a leader in that effort, someone on the ground. So I've invited Holly Diamond, the Executive Director of Enrollment Services and the College Registrar, to share some of this with you today. Ms. Diamond, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
And it's a great day to be a Hawk, right? I wanted to, I see I got a laugh. That's a good thing. I'm here representing not just enrollment services, but the entire division of student affairs. So those of you who are not familiar, that also includes counseling, student activities, athletics, career services, of course, enrollment services. So it's a really large group of people that I'm going to be speaking about. I wish I could give you a lot of detail, but I have 5 minutes. So I will do my very best at acknowledging everybody and all the great things that are going on. Now, I know when you hear from me and you get information from me, you think it's enrollment management or EM. When we started working in this pandemic, we decided and we quickly learned EM means a lot more than enrollment management. It means everybody matters. We took that to heart. Everybody matters within our team, those we serve, our colleagues across the campus. So we tried to take care and support each other. I know we heard a little bit earlier about becoming IT staff, and so some of my lead staff turned out to be the best IT support for some of our other staff members. So we had to take care of ourselves before we could take care of our students. So we made sure everybody was comfortable. We learned quickly not everybody loved working at home. I'm one of the people who love working at home, but it took me a while to help other people adjust during this transition. So while we were taking care of each other, we decided, okay, we could sit back and wait and see what happens. We decided we must meet the students where they're at. We could not wait for students just to call us. Some of the things that happened were we took an entire call center for the entire college offline and moved it remote. That would not have been achievable without our great IT leaders and without our wonderful enrollment services staff. So I want you to know all those calls that are being answered, we've had hundreds of thousands of calls going out and coming in, and that is your enrollment staff. It is our enrollment staff making those calls or receiving those calls. And again, they're doing it from their homes, and a lot of us would not be able to do our jobs the way they're doing that. So we thank them immensely. Some of the other things that are going on were student activities. Student activities, you would think in the middle of a pandemic, might not do anything this summer and just sit back and wait and see what happens for fall. But Cassandra Fluker and her team, they worked really hard, and they now have some virtual programming planned, such as welcome days, motivational speakers, and concerts. So we're really excited about that. Our career services department over the summer, again, they could have just sat back and waited, but they took advantage of this opportunity. They developed specialty work groups for our students. They also did some wonderful virtual recruiting, and with that virtual recruiting, they were able to get major employers such as DTE and the state of Michigan. Pretty phenomenal. Our counseling area, they were able to start seeing students online in a virtual environment. Again, something we would never have imagined have happened. Our academic advising and student success team, they used a tool. They went more than MS Teams. They did more than Zoom. They used a tool called Google Voice. And they were able to connect with students and develop such a wonderful relationship. They found their attendance rate for their appointments increased by 40%. So this was pretty amazing. You know, when they say good comes out of bad, really, this has helped us have such a wonderful relationship with our students and connect at a level that we never thought was possible in the past. You know, we're meeting students where they're at. Maybe it's a working parent who has 2 children who we can now meet with, where they would have never been able to make it to our campus. So we are really looking at some changes long term as we work through this pandemic. I want to talk about the enrollment services team as well. And that is a large team. It's admissions and recruiting, international students, the call center, registration, just to name a few. And so much happened this summer. When we talked, you heard a lot about collaboration and teamwork earlier today. And this really happened tremendously this summer within our division. We worked with IT, we worked with marketing, we worked with even the mailroom. Our friends in the mailroom said, you want to send 26,000 postcards? And we said yes, and they said, we'll make it happen. So really thanks to marketing, thanks to graphics, and our friends in the mailroom who helped us mail out over 1,000 diplomas. So a lot of work has been going on, and we're really, really proud of that. A couple things I would like you to know regarding the support of each other and support of students. Enrollment services looked at what would need to happen to help make students more comfortable and their parents more comfortable coming to Henry Ford College. So our team developed something called Hawk Family Fridays. And this was designed for the families that support our students. We recognize that our students need support, but support from more than just us, support from their families. So we had these Hawk Families Fridays, and we even had a family from Senegal join us. And those were rave reviews and things we were going to probably do in the future. The admissions team took their show on the road, if you will, and the admissions recruiters met with high school counselors, parents, families, and students. This is something that we didn't do before. Again, we just thought, wow, this is amazing, and we're going to keep doing this for the future. Our enrollment managers saw a need in the Office of Financial Aid in terms of late SAP appeals. And without getting into technical, but there was a need, and our enrollment managers, knowing it wasn't their job, decided, we're gonna do this, we're gonna help out. An example that happened just yesterday is Jeremy Guck, who is our leader in admissions and recruiting and international students. Recognized that we are going to have a deregistration that's going to happen. So he said, I wanna see that list of students. And he started looking at those students and how many of them were first-year students, how many of them were dual enroll. And then he said to our partners in financial aid, so he was being nosy, butting into financial aid's business, and they let him, which is good. But he said, let's talk about this. Then he started talking with cashiers. So, you know, we joke about we're being nosy and we're in everybody's business, but it's an example of all the walls have come down. There are no more silos. We were truly working as a team. And what happens after Jeremy does all his work is he will send out robocalls to students. What happens from that is that our phones will explode. And the leader of all of our services for current, for prospective, and admitted students, Nicole Ford Kondrachek, her team will lead the answering of those phone calls. They will lead the discussions that need to happen if Zoom meetings need to happen for appointments such as for financial aid or registration. So those are some of the things that are happening right now. Again, silos are gone. I know it's kind of an old saying, but we really broke those down. There are no more barriers, really working for the good of each other and the good of our students. So I am very happy that I was able to join you today and talk a little bit about what's been happening in our area.
Thank you, Holly, and I appreciate so much you sharing some of the great work that's going on in your area. And I wish you the best, because we're all counting on all of you to help us continue what we know is important, and that is enrollment. I'd like to add some corrections, and I really appreciate my colleagues reaching out. Keith Binion, I appreciate you telling me, and I regret having made the mistake, but I do want to add our condolences because we lost another one of the HFC family, a retiree, I believe, Teresa Mosig. And then Lorena Bensick, I want to thank you for also noting in the chat that Kiember Pearson has been elected and is the new Associate Dean of the School of Business, Entrepreneurism, and Professional Development. So please do, if there are things that I miss, please do throw them in the chat. I'll try to keep my eye on that and continue this to be as much a conversation as possible. You know, I really regret that we can't do what we usually do in the FORFA, which is we pass around the microphone and we have a conversation, but the chat is a good way to try to accomplish some of that. The next topic I'll just briefly touch on is, and this is another convention I've come to give you an update on the budget. It's not the most sexy topic, but it's a really important topic. And it is that we were happy that the Board of Trustees approved our annual budget. It assumes an enrollment decline of 5.5%. And as you know, we're probably going to, right now we're below that. So we're hoping to increase enrollment, but that'll be a significant shortfall. We also anticipate state appropriations to be down 20% compared to the start of fiscal year 2020. And despite that, we worked hard to try to make sure that we could balance the budget. And of course, we did that. Last point I'll make is, I hear often from your vice presidents that there are vacancies that you believe are important to be filled. And I take those seriously. But the truth is, one of the best ways to handle reduction in revenue, and that's what reduced enrollment and reduced state appropriation is, that is reduction in revenue. And we have the same college to deliver. With those reduction in revenue, there are really only two ways to handle that. You can adjust how much you're spending on staff, which is either to keep vacancies or do layoffs. And I'm not talking about either of those. I'm just being truthful with you about what your options are as an administrator. Or you can increase tuition. Now, none of those are outstanding options, but I just need you to know how serious we take it, how serious I take it, to have a balanced budget and to deal with the question of vacancies. Those are two parts of the same analysis. Now, let's talk about some of the innovations we've had here on campus as a result of the pandemic. I invited two guests to share with you some of their experiences in the past few months, and they each provided a video that I'm going to share with you. One is dealing with how the faculty develop new models for teaching and learning. You know, as I mentioned earlier, the faculty played a pivotal role in transitioning from face-to-face courses to distance modalities in a very short amount of time. Much of that success was due to the Faculty Senate and its leadership team, including then Chairman Paul Fisher and its current Chairman Tony Perry. The Faculty Senate and the Academic Affairs leadership team, led by Vice President Michael Nealon, showed outstanding teamwork and focus on service to students, not only during the winter onset of the pandemic, but during the once-in-a-lifetime spring and summer that we faced. You know, I met with them. I met with Chairman Fisher and then incoming Chair Perry. And I met with the Senate. And I remember being in Kevin Dewey's classroom. We were all separated by those tables. And I remember seeing senators and faculty worried about what would be in the future. And I remember saying we were going to hold together as a team. And I remember leaders like Eric Rader and Tony Perry and Scott Stills saying that they were going to help each other and make it through. And they did. So I thought there'd be no one better than Tony Perry to give us some perspective about what you all accomplished as faculty, working with administration to deliver for students. And so I will stop sharing and ask my comrade in arms, Rhonda DeLong, to help take over the screen and show a video from Dr. Perry.
Welcome back. Dear colleagues.
Can you hear him now?
We made it through the winter and the summer. Welcome back. even if it's just virtually. President Kavalhuna asked me to briefly speak about the work you did to get us through the winter term and what challenges we have faced before us this academic year. If you don't know me, I'm Tony Perry, the Faculty Senate Chair for this academic year. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but before we get to that, it's important that we acknowledge all the incredible work you did since the pandemic hit. Henry Ford College's success is built on your backs, and it requires all of us to lift together to move the college forward. You've shown that you're up to this challenge. I'm immensely proud to work with all of you. Moreover, your efforts this spring and summer need a special recognition. These went beyond and above what anyone could have imagined. I would like to take a few moments to highlight some of the work I saw that epitomizes the strength of our college. Our college success rests on all of you, and I am more than happy to talk about my brilliant, hard-working colleagues that make working here so inspiring. From the Return to Campus Committee to the numerous other groups who have guided the institution during this time, I say thank you. Last winter term, we had to quickly respond to the threats of a pandemic. There were things we had to do because the state of Michigan required us to. And there were things that we had to do to continue our mission as an institution. And there were things that we had to do just because they were the right thing to do. I can say that the work you undertook was not easy, and none of us were experts in dealing with such a situation. Yet you did not let that stand in your way. You took the problems and developed solutions. I can say the HFC administration did not assume they had all the answers, but they realized that it was going to have to be on all of our backs to find the way through this. And they supported the leadership coming from across campus. Our administration realized they didn't have all the answers, but they didn't need to. They had a lot of smart people across campus who could develop solutions. Now, for those of us who have been here for a while, we knew our colleagues always had this ability. I've seen this time and time again, and that's why I love HFC. But you, my friends, are exceptional professionals and human beings. Too often in the past, this was not recognized. But this was not your first rodeo, your first time solving problems. You set this foundation year in, year out, and that's why you're able to quickly respond to this crisis. Faculty, administration, and support staff came together to solve problems, to help students, and to make sure we were doing our very best. While there are too many examples to list everything here, I'll mention a few and a few people I saw doing exceptional work. This is really servant leadership at its best. Finishing the winter term for most classes online was not easy. Students, faculty, and staff had to pivot quickly and completely to a remote environment. I saw my colleagues come together to train those in need and to support directly where needed. Faculty throughout the college who had never taught online feared the concept. They came through and finished their semester and ensured their students learned what was needed. From Vicki, Glenn, Christian in instructional technology to Pam and Jeff with CTEI, we saw the core group adapt, adjust, and meet the needs we had. Remember, we had fewer than 20% of our courses offered remotely before March 2020, and then we went 100% remote. Faculty from across the campus work with their colleagues, usually in their own discipline, but not always, to bring them up to speed and to make sure that the vast majority of students finish the semester successfully. This was vital on so many fronts. If we were not able to finish the winter semester, so many students would have lost that semester, would have had to repeat it. The college would have had to reimburse their tuition. And this might have been a fiscal cliff no coming back from. So many of you worked tirelessly. and many times throughout the night, as I know of many conference calls and such, to address the issues facing our students and our colleagues and the institution. Crises like this are often paralyzing to people. You weren't paralyzed, you were supercharged. The Instructional Technology Committee and Allison Buchanan and Scott Still, who just got the Prepare to Teach Online class rolling, now had to make this class available to so many more, and this was really unexpected. Working with Pam Stewart and Jeff Morford, they were able to ramp up many more sections to accommodate the unprecedented needs. This was done to develop the best possible remote learning classes, not just putting classes on the schedule, but being prepared to teach online remote learning. I can say this is a unique among academic institutions. It shows our commitment to student learning as our top priority. It takes a lot of work to develop online classes, and to do it well takes even more work and thought. During the spring and summer and going into the fall, this effort of preparing and improving our remote education has been the equivalent of a Marshall Plan, and this is very impressive because this is being done in addition to everything else we still must do. I know many of you are working around the clock. Many days turn into evenings and nights, and really without much of a break. What makes it more challenging is that many of us are doing this while trying to juggle many new responsibilities in a new environment, in your homes, where focus time is hard to come by. Technology may or may not be optimal, and the pandemic has left all of us feeling like we have no control over our lives. Beginning in late January, a few of us, including Adam Hazlett, Bob Yarmatter, Betsy Cohn, and Eric Rader, started talking about the pandemic and the potential impact on us. We discussed this very possibility of having to deliver remote learning and the challenges that it would bring. I met with Dr. Nealon in late February about these concerns and the importance we had to prepare for not a delay in the semester, but finishing online. He was most receptive. And then Senate Chair Paul Fisher brought this before the Senate to begin to figure this out. However, the theoretical did not really prepare us for what was needed. Within the first week back after spring break, many students were challenged to finish the semester in this typical asynchronous online environment. So were many faculty. Many faculty started to use Zoom, Big Blue Button, Microsoft Teams, and other tools to bring their students to regular weekly engagement sessions. Others even used just conference call technology. It became apparent quickly that these sessions were extremely beneficial to student learning. And there were going to be a large group of students who could not handle the asynchronous classes. And they weren't going to come back in the fall if that was their only option. Beginning with a few phone calls and expanding quickly, an ever-increasing group of faculty discussed developing a plan ready to deliver live remote learning. This group, by early April, included over 50 faculty, staff, and administrators. Jeff Morford coined the term live without the drive, and it stuck. And a new mode of teaching and learning was introduced. The groundwork for what this mode would mean, required meeting after meeting after meeting, weekly, sometimes daily, from March through July. Numerous colleagues shared their expertise and came together to think about ways to deliver this education effectively. I can say personally, participating with my colleagues in this process was rewarding in so many ways. It reiterated my faith in many of you. You are extremely dedicated individuals. You did not have to do this. You didn't have to spend countless hours in meetings, planning and developing training to deliver this new mode. You could have said, someone else will do this. This is not my responsibility. But you didn't. You engaged, even when you were overwhelmed finishing the winter term, and even more. It was impressive. This we can do it attitude by so many. For instance, Lightning Holly Diamond and her team getting that live without the drive designation on the courses without a hiccup. Rhonda DeLong and her team began working with several faculty on the language to describe this mode for students and for recruitment. I can say this is not normal for an institution, especially education institutions. You know, the literature says that it takes 50 years for major changes to happen at institutions of higher education. We saw it very quickly. The only good part of the pandemic and the stay-at-home order was you, my colleagues, were able to pass out at home without having to drive home after putting in so many hours. The Live Without the Drive was introduced in several math courses this summer and will be formally introduced this fall semester. It's not perfect. It's not the best way to learn, yet it does, however, offer a bridge through this academic year. The Live Without the Drive team developed and held training sessions in early July, with several faculty members providing their expertise to help us get started. Jessica Schomburger shared with us the web conferencing tools, and Pam Stewart, Holly Saraswat, Sue Jabbar, and Rosemary McKetta addressed various pedagogical methods that could be employed across various disciplines. Sam Bazzi shared with us the various tools for recording lectures. And Shauna Simpson-Singleton made sure that we were aware that there are going to be pitfalls and how we could possibly address them. This was an introduction to many about this new mode. And in the course of the fall term, we're going to learn a lot more about this and remote learning. Our colleagues are already meeting to address the pitfalls of remote learning and to come up with the best practices across the curriculum, whether this be through groups like Kevin Trevini's Brown Bag Sessions, which he's been hosting during the summer, to the more formal CTI work and instructional technology resources that are online and available to all of us. As we embark this fall, we are eyes wide open. Groups of faculty are already coming together to discuss ways to ensure academic integrity with a group led by Mike Hill. In the coming weeks, we'll need to share our expertises and our experiences with each other, figure out ways to work through problems, tweak our methods, and share best practices for educating our students. We are reminded that not all of our students have the same resources and networks we have. We need to make sure they have every opportunity for success. Yes, the thread running through all we have done has been the concern over access, ensuring we are addressing our students' ability to access this learning, understanding that much of our community we serve is underserved. We are not doing our education in a box, but rather with people with real-world challenges, and meeting each student where they are is what we must do. Even with more normal times, we were challenged at doing this. It's going to be even more vital than ever. Many individuals and groups across campus have been stepping up, from Elizabeth Preston and SAFE, Calvin Harville and the Black and Male Queens Focus Group, and Hawk's Nest, who are all helping many of our students with their basic needs, to President Kavalhuna and the administration making sure our students can get laptops if they need to. The needs are only going to grow this fall more than ever before. I think we're up to these challenges. So I'm going to end my remarks with thank you. Thank you, my colleagues, my friends. I feel blessed to work with so many of you. We are all working to meet the challenges ahead. Together, we can make sure that our students succeed. Have a great semester.
Well, thank you, Dr. Perry. What a great addition to this presentation, and I appreciate what you say. You know, I've been watching the chat, and I thought it was great. Brian Smith, you, my friend, made a comment about Dr. Perry sometimes reminding you of Dr. Fauci and how prescient he was about the fact that this was going to be a problem. And of course, he was in my ear too. I can see he was in Eric Rader's ear. He was in Scott Still's ear. he was in everyone's ear saying this is going to be a thing. So we're glad to have Dr. Perry as a leader and as a teammate. And I don't vet these speeches. I don't tell him what to say, but it was really great to have him talk about the laptop program that we put on campus, because that's a great segue to the next presentation. And that is going to be by Cristina Bailey, the Director of Academic Services, who will tell you about our efforts to put that technology in the hands of students who needed it. So I will now ask my colleague again, Rhonda DeLong, to give the mic to a recording by Dr. Bailey, who I believe has a picture of an autopsy, maybe the first one ever, at the beginning of her presentation.
Good morning, President Kavalhuna, Vice Presidents, and colleagues. In late March, when the shelter-in-place order came from our governor, it became apparent that it was necessary to implement a program to allow students to get a laptop so that they can complete the winter semester courses. Vice President Herbst and Neelan went back to work immediately, and we all together started to look for computers. The purchasing department was able to come up with 100 Chromebooks for purchase, and the Dearborn Public School loaned us more than 100 laptops too. So we implemented a loan program for our students. I have never been so proud of working for an institution when there are so many logistical aspects, so many items to take care of, but it was foremost for everyone that the successful completion and safety of our students was at the both by President Neal and Herbst. They did everything they could to make sure that the program was successful. So the next day, Joe Sidnick and his team, they were able to very quickly prepare those 100 Chromebooks and all of those Dearborn Public School laptops so that they were ready for loaning to the students. So very soon we started the program the next day after the shelter-in-place order came. And we were there every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 12 for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And after that, it was just twice a week until there was no more demand in late May or June. So it was a very successful program. We loaned close to or maybe more than 200 Chromebooks to the students. This program is going to continue for the fall, so expect more details about the implementation of this program coming through our HFC communications emails. I want to note too that some of the instructors were just wonderful, how they were so worried about the success of the students, contacting us all of the time, making sure that the students had the laptops that they needed. A couple of instructors that even came to campus to make sure that the students were able to retrieve those laptops because of transportation problems. And one thing that I want to note, and this is on the side, one day I was there with the students, and to follow safety protocols, I only allow one student at a time inside of the atrium of the campus safety building. So this person that came to the door was going to access the building, but I was serving a student already. So I signaled this person to wait outside. After that, when I finished with the student, I realized that it was President Kavalhuna, the one that I made him wait outside. But he was so good about it, he didn't complain, he just waited. And when I signaled it, he came into the building and we had a good laugh about it. So it was very good. It was a good effort by everybody in order to make sure that our students successfully completed the winter semester.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. I appreciate your support. And yeah, I do remember that day. I was watching you maintain the security of that building like a hawk, and I appreciated it. Let's now go back to screen share, and let me make a couple comments, and then we're going to hear from another individual. I'd like to talk about student success. What does a student success look like during a pandemic? And We asked at least 2 recent students to give their description of what their experiences were like at HFC and talk about how the college helped them when they needed it the most. Now, the first is Hassan Hammoud, and he was a nursing student who was dual enrolled, and I'll let him speak about his experience in his own words in a video he sent to us.
Hello everybody. It is an honor for me to speak to you today from the confinements of my own home, obviously during this little pandemic we got going on. My name is Hassan Hammoud, and I know we're not as close as we'd like to be when it comes to our distance. However, I do feel that we're still as close and as connected as can be when it comes to our ideas, thoughts, and goals. Before I begin talking about HFC and everything HFC has done for me, because trust me, HFC has done a lot for me, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the amount of impact that God has had in my life. Without my self-care activities and my spiritual activities, I don't think I can be the type of person I would like to be in every situation that I am. With that, I would like to begin with the college. It has helped so many of us in so many ways, whether it be working here, going to school here, or volunteering here even. I think the message implied is really the same across the board. And the message that I take from it is that you are supposed to work to limits that you never really thought that you can reach before, and then once you've done that, make sure the next day that you work twice as hard. It is that same message that is really the vocal point of this community we created here. It is with that same message that whenever I ask the hardest working of faculty, or even nurses that I work with, where did you go to school? They look at me, they smile, and they say, yeah, I went to Henry Ford. A coincidence? I really don't think so when it happens so often and as consistently as it does. This is the same college that took me in at age 15 while I was dual enrolling in my high school. And back then, of course, nursing has always been the goal, but at age 15, that goal really seemed like a drop in the ocean. And that mission I had at age 15 was pretty simple. Maintain the highest grades that I can possibly could, learn as much about life as possible, keep a smile on my face through it all, and be the absolute best version of myself. What stood in my way? Well, about 100 credit hours, and structures that pushed you to the brink to pull out qualities in you that you never knew yet you possessed, a nursing program that doesn't allow you to blink, and then, oh yeah, a pandemic in the middle of learning about a cardiac system with Professor Borkin. If any of you know her, she can teach about cardiac quite a bit. And through it all, I worked a lot. I worked really hard. And through that, I learned so much. And through that gruesome process, I learned what it meant to believe. To believe in the universe at large, myself, and every person that was willing to help. And at Henry Ford, every person that breathes at Henry Ford is willing to help. I know that this success story is supposed to be about me and about my success, but I am really one of the last people responsible for that to happen. It is my parents that are available for me night and day. Office members like Karen Surgeries that literally greet me every single time I step through that door and allowed me to grow through this whole process. Dean Shankwaila, who cares about my well-being before it comes to any of my grades. Professors like I mentioned, like Borkin, that if you don't get it, we'll make sure that we get through it together. And honestly, even like our school president, Russ, like I remember when this pandemic started, he really gave us some very powerful message through all the videos that he sent. And I watched them all. I really appreciate it all. And forgive me for not mentioning your last name. I'm not even going to try on that right now. And but really, it is the accumulation of all these things that we're able to go through the harshest of pandemics together. And I know I maintained my positivity and hard work through it all, but this is really not my success story, but it's our success story. And thank you all, and God bless you all.
Well, thank you, Hassan. No worries on the last name. Sometimes my kids can't even quite get it right. One more story that I do want to share on this topic is from a student from our Ford Asset program. And that student's name is Shafiq Gibbons. Now, he was in the automotive technology asset program, and he sent a message that I would like to read to you. It was, so it's been a few months since school ended, and as of last Wednesday, I have become Suburban Ford's new trans tech full-time. I would like to thank you for teaching me and helping mold my career. You showed me the steps, led me to the door, and practically gave me the key to open it. Now I have a means to support my family and to give a better lifestyle to my daughter. Thank you, Mr. Young. Shafiq was speaking about instructor Chris Young, who is one of the teachers providing the same kind of experience to all Ford Asset students. I know Chris, in fact, I have one of my favorite pictures of when Governor Whitmer was here was him educating Governor Whitmer about the Ford Asset program. You know, it's these experiences of these students and the thousands like them that show what it means to transform their lives and to help them build better futures. This is the core of who we are. I hope it inspires you to keep going, because it does for me. Let's think about that. Student success across these semesters. There's one thing I want to tell you about student success. Our winter 2020 semester finally concluded last week. The semester was extended because there was simply no way to continue it. We had to postpone winter on-campus classes until July 7th. 246 sections were postponed and then resumed. 996 students successfully completed these classes and are now able to continue their studies or move on into their careers. That's something you can be proud of. So let's talk about what it means to return to campus, and maybe even a bit about what the future holds for us from the fall and the winter. And before I go into the details about the fall, I want to talk about our return to campus process. I'm immensely proud of the great work this team accomplished in a short amount of time and under significant pressure. In about 3 weeks during May and June, our return to campus core team and subcommittees under the guidance of Vice Presidents Amy Clark and Lori Gonko managed to find solutions to many complex issues, from academics to operations. I would also like to thank the Board of Trustees for its support and guidance during this process, especially Trustee Roxanne McDonald, who served on the core team. They put together a substantive, phased plan that gave us a path to operate safely and successfully on our campuses. The Return to Campus core team and 4 subcommittees, comprising of 50 people from across our college, researched best practices, conducted a campus-wide survey, evaluated state mandates and plans, and focused on safety and excellence as their top priorities. Their plan has guided our efforts through summer classes and will continue to guide our operations for as long as necessary. The diversity of this team and its success are what makes me extraordinarily optimistic that we will overcome any challenge we face. Just think about what it shows about our diversity. That diversity of thought and experience is our strength. We are strongest when we all work together from across our various areas of the college. The core team included Ruben Bruckley, Amy Clark, Kevin Culler, Rhonda DeLong, Holly Diamond, Paul Fisher, Lori Gonko, LaDonna Holly, Edgar Johns, Roxanne McDonald, Katrina Minnis, Tony Perry, Eric Rader, Karen Schoen, and Susan Schunkweiler. What a diverse team, and what a powerful team. Second, that team showed that when we work together, we can overcome significant hurdles that are beyond our control. This team and many others in the subcommittees conducted this difficult work together, virtually, during a pandemic, and with the changes that are happening almost daily as they were trying to build a plan, and under a tight timeline with students wanting to finish their courses. And they were successful. Finally, this team shows that we are excellent and we are at our best when we come together. This process continued our work in breaking down silos and overcoming past power struggles, but in a very short time with an important deadline. Those of you who have been here a long time realize, as Dr. Perry noted in his presentation today, that this is a big step forward for us. During a very difficult time, to come together, set aside battles of the past, and to focus on our students, our teammates, and our joint future. And our outcome was top-notch. Think about what this team delivered. We have a communication strategy to inform students and faculty and staff in real time. We have a phased approach to restart our education on campus. We have a playbook to educate you, our community, on the processes that we will comply with, and to comport with federal and state regulatory strictures and best practices. And the process that we've developed is, by my estimation, the best in class. Just read some of the news articles today. You'll see other institutions struggling with developing their plans, much less executing them. And we've executed ours for several weeks already. And because of our teamwork, we have delivered this excellent plan, and we are still deploying it. I have to do a public service announcement. If you haven't completed your playbook training, please do that by Friday, September 4th, and you'll find the link to this training in your HFC email if you search Playbook Training and Assessment. The mail will be from hrcollaborative.net. If it looks like spam, you can contact Jennifer Chapman in Lori Gonko's office to be sure, but that's the one. You know, this return to campus plan was successful in July and August, as many of you returned to campus to complete pause classes for the winter. We will no doubt continue to evaluate this plan, and we'll have to refine it as circumstances and science inform us about best practices to keep our students and teammates safe. Our work continues, and this pandemic shows that we will work, and it'll be hard work, to require us to be nimble and to work together as a team. But take a moment and share some pride in what we've accomplished. I'm proud of it, and I hope you are too. We've accomplished a great deal. We encountered a hurdle after hurdle and worked through them to overcome them together. This is becoming our calling card as a college. And as a group of teammates, we identify problems, we set the best minds and the best hands at work to deal with them. They devise a plan, and we begin to implement that plan. The way we interacted with this pandemic is just one in a long line of examples of that. We've dealt with that same problem and process with our strategic enrollment management team, how we handled HLC accreditation, how we evaluated and analyzed our human resources department, when we analyzed our campus safety levels. Some of these are still ongoing. How we, as a college, moved 90% of our classes in 2 weeks from face-to-face to online. I continue to believe, and I encourage you to believe, that when we work as a team, there really is not anything we cannot overcome. And this leads to one of the most pressing issues that we now must confront. That is our campus culture on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most of you know that I held a social justice town hall on June 11th to hear various voices about issues confronting our college and our society. On June 25th, I sent you a message about my thoughts on that event and our next steps. I remain committed to personally work on these issues with all of you. Many groups and individuals have engaged with me during the past 2 months, and we have made progress in one big step that I hope and I am committed to be just the first step. And that is that we will engage in an experienced consultant to help us undertake a comprehensive campus climate survey. The results of this will be used to help us move forward in the best ways possible. This recommendation came from the Diversity Task Force before I arrived at the college. We will begin by developing a proposed list of survey questions with the help of this consultant. And then, when we engage the stakeholders, like you all, to make sure we have the right questions to generate authentic answers that can help us make the changes that we need to make. The climate survey will not be focused only on race, although that will be an important part. It will include all types of questions about all aspects of diversity. I also make the commitment to you that this process will not be rushed. I heard from you that you want meaningful, consistent action, and we need to know what you see, what our community sees, and our strengths and our weaknesses. This will help us understand how we can make sustainable progress as we grow as a culture. But this survey work is so important that it can't wait until the pandemic subsides, which is why over the last several weeks, Reginald Best, LaDonna Holly, and I have interviewed multiple consultants and selected one to help us conduct this survey. We plan to begin this work of building a survey and getting your feedback on it right away, and I aim to deploy this survey in September. After the survey is completed, I will share the results with you and engage in conversations about where those results should lead us as a college in making our culture what we want it to be. This is a big step towards lasting, meaningful action by the college. I thank all of you who have done so much on this topic already, and I commit to you to keep you involved. I know that we've got work to do, and I commit to you to do the work with you. Now, I want to move to just a few logistics about the upcoming terms and months. I'd like to note that as of now, this fall will be about 75% of our classes that will be online, either live or asynchronous. We will still have more than 1,000 students on the campuses for classes that must be held in person. We will continue to do everything we can to keep students and employees safe. These measures will be familiar to you. Enhanced sanitation, required masks, social distancing, physical barriers, health screening forms, temperature checks, and designated plans for any emerging symptoms or exposures on campus. We will work with the Wayne County Health Department if there are any known cases in our campus community, and we will comply with all executive orders. As part of our efforts to make our campus safe and as safe as possible, we will have to greatly reduce our on-campus services. This means many services will only be provided in remote formats or simply be closed. I will send you a complete list of services that will be available and the services that will be provided in remote formats. You can also find this list of services that we will be providing remotely on the Fall Student Resources webpage. We do not know yet what winter 2021 semester will look like, but we'll start planning that very soon. I'd like to close with a personal statement, and I want to encourage you to continue the work you've done as teammates, to put our students first in these toughest of times. As you know, all the online and remote communication methods that we've needed during this pandemic have not been my favorite way to lead the college. This has been a struggle for me. I much prefer to see you all in person because I take a lot of joy in interacting with you and our students here on campus and in person. I like the give and take and the real-time engagement that those kind of interactions offer. But one thing I've learned during this pandemic is that we can still succeed together, even in less than optimal circumstances. You have shown me how to do this, and you have inspired me to keep doing this when it has been the hardest. I've shown you some of the voices that inspire me here today. Your determination and innovations have energized me and convinced me that we are doing the right things. In fact, we're leading higher education in doing the right things. Your teamwork has been the most important and heartening ingredient in our success. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you for the hard work you have given to me, to our students, to each other, and to our college. You are doing excellent work, and I know you will keep it up. All of us will need to pull together to have a successful fall, and I'll keep communicating with you, probably sometimes more than you'd like. But if you ever need me, you know I'm here for you. I support you, and I'll maintain my commitment. If you contact me, I will respond. Now I'm going to stop the sharing of the site, and I'll do a quick look of the chat. And I will invite anyone else to throw questions in. I've got a couple questions that came in that I think I'll have to address at a later date because they involve some sensitive issues about diagnosis with COVID-19 and HIPAA. So I'll hold that one for a later response. I did have a question about the hiring freeze, and I just want to respond that we do have a pretty stringent process for filling vacancies. It's not a complete hiring freeze, but it is a stringent process, and it's the one that frankly keeps our budget in the black. I'm happy to take any questions directly from anyone on that by email to outline the process, and I'll engage you, whoever sent this question, with the applicable vice president. Okay. Nancy Borkin asks, are we going to get proctoring programs for exams? And I'm glad you asked that question because there were a couple things that in my conversation with Dr. Perry, he asked me to bring up that I know are issues for academic affairs and for the faculty senate. And one of them is dealing with assessment in the remote world. I know that that's on your docket to discuss and try to accomplish best practices on. I don't have any development for you on that Nancy, but the reason why I don't have anything is because I trust Dr. Nealon and his team and Dr. Perry and his team to come together and try to come up with the best practices there. And I recognize that it's not easy. And I look forward to seeing what Drs. Nealon and Perry have to say about that. A lot of discussion going on now about exams. Any status to expand Zoom access for all faculty? Pam, send me an email about that. I'm not sure I understand, which is fine. Any other questions in the chat? I'm about 15 minutes late, and Dr. Perry has the mic next. I don't want to go any too far into his time. And the last thing I'll say before we go is I've never thought about doing a State of the College with Zoom. I hope this was worth your time. I'm happy to hear feedback about what worked and what didn't work. I do take some solace watching the Democrats and Republicans trying to do a convention for 4 days straight with stuff like this. So it's not easy. I hope that it was meaningful for you. But I will note that if you think that it was done well, then you should reach out to Rhonda DeLong and Kathy Demetriou. They are the ones who really made this happen. And like I said, contact me with any questions. If I get questions, I'll always give you the straight answer. Dr. Perry, I see you. You're ready in the wings. I'm sorry I'm giving you the ball 15 minutes late. I appreciate your time and your partnership. And is there anything I can do to help you get off on the right foot for your part?
No, you did a great job. Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I appreciate obviously all the information that's going to really help make the faculty organization meeting after this go much more smoothly. We have a lot of answers to a lot of questions that would have most likely would have come up there.